Hello everyone, Cricket and Corky's Clubhouse here. Coming at you with another tutorial video, kind of revisiting something. If you watched my last video, my unboxing, you saw that I got a long-haired pigtail African-American cricket, and she had really yellow eyes, and she does work for the most part. Her mouth moves, but her eyes don't, which is pretty impressive. But she plays really well, and I think she'll clean up great. I also get a lot of questions about or requests about Cricket's eyes. A lot of people want to know about her eyes, how they work. You know, I get people saying the eyes are crooked or they're pushed in or one's up and one's down. There's a lot of different factors there. So I brought out another African-American head, and we are going to look in her eyes and check that out. But also, I've done this before in the past where I have worked on a cricket, but I've never like started with one. I don't believe so I'm gonna show you how I actually, like, when I first get a cricket, how I go inside and do a quick fix with that at least. But before I do that, we're gonna go ahead and look at this head. So you've heard me mention there's two different versions of the African-American cricket. This was the first version, so she has more of like the short, curly, like afro style hair. Now, of course, this girl's hair is just super nasty. She's never been washed. And rumor has it, legend I guess has it, is that they stopped making this version and made the long-haired one with pigtails because when Corky came out, kids were getting the African-American Corky and Cricket confused. I mean, I can really tell the difference, but I know it did happen because I've even purchased this version of Cricket as being sold as Corky. So it does happen, I suppose. They're a little similar, but I think there is some big differences. So especially with her eyes and her eyelashes. But when they discontinued this head, they went over to the long-haired version, and they gave her basically the same haircut as the Caucasian cricket. So she's got the pigtails with the yarn and the bangs, and everything else is the same. Also mentioned last time too that this cricket originally had a brown body, like the cassette part, with the tape deck and the battery pack. And this one, when they switched over, they realized no one sees any of that anyway, so they all just started going to the peach colored version. So you won't ever find brown version on this version of Cricket or Corky, only on this one. So she's, to me, a little more rare. Well, I guess since I have them both out. Also, this one has different eyes, and I've never figured out why. Cricket always has, the African-American has these brown eyes, and a lot of times they're very like faded, almost pink looking around the brown part of the eye. This one, for some reason, and she is constantly trying to look up on me, her eyes are like almost like red. They're like an amber brown, and I have several of these, and none of them have eyes like that. They all have the normal eye. So it doesn't look like it's been washed. It's not faded. It's just this weird anomaly, and I've never been able to explain it. But I haven't worked on this head just because her cassette player is giving me issues. So I could easily just switch it out and put one of these cassette players on her. Easy to do, but I'm a purist. I like to have everything to try to fix it original. So eventually I will work on her cassette player. But anyway, before we get into this cricket, so I know there's lots of videos out there. So basically how she works is, she's attached to the cassette player. That's basically all that is. It's just literally a glorified cassette player, and they layered on top of it the kinetics, the little parts that make her face move. Other than that, it's just a tape player. It has rewind, fast forward, stop, play, volume. And how it works is there's 3 little metal bars that go up into her head. The bigger bar obviously is going to control her mouth because it's, needs more push and pull there. And then these other 2 are her eyes, and they run on 2 little smaller pulleys. But one of them basically makes them go up and down, and the other makes them go left and right. So you kind of get a little movement of both as she talks. They don't move this fast, but And basically that's it. She's not like Jill, like that. Just these little metal rods go up into plastic. Everything inside of her is plastic. Now, the big question, again, everyone is all about the eyeballs. So if you have a cricket and maybe her eyes are like that, where they're up high, maybe like they've fallen back, that probably means that this has come loose inside, or maybe the little casing that holds it to the wheel that it makes it go up and down has broke. So I would say look there, but that is a lot of times why she would be pointing up like that, because they just naturally fall upward, but possibly a fix. The other possibility is that a kid has pushed her eye socket out of alignment on the inside. So I'm going to show you that. I'm not going to dig too deep, and I'm going to show you why I don't really like to open cricket heads, because in a way you kind of destroy them. You damage them, basically, which happens, you know, when you fix Chatty Cathy's and certain other talking toys. You kind of have to break into them because they were never made to get into, and she is no different. So just like Jill, they all have a scalp, right? So you got to find that crease. And this one was very difficult to get off. Like, her glue is much, much thicker than Jill's, but basically you scalp her open. So when you open her up like that, you're going to have pretty much the same thing. You just have a rubbery piece of scalp. And then just like with Jill, you have this casing that goes on here. Except this casing is a little different. And then inside, all plastic. So unlike Jill with all the motors and stuff, it's literally just this whole plastic situation. Now the issue is it's much harder to get to these eyes, and these eyes are put in very different. So don't even know if I'm going to be able to show on camera, but basically to really get to the eyes, you have to take this piece out, this big, like, I'll call that the skull. The problem is there are 4 screws down in there. You can see them down in there. That's great, right? Easy peasy. The problem is there's these 2 plastic clips. There, you can see them back there. Those 2 plastic clips, you have to press them back and try to unhook this and pull that whole piece out. Again, because, you know, these were made in 1986, 87, and all this plastic is old, odds are those clips are going to break off. Not the complete end of the world, but, you know, it's not going to be as stable as it is right now. As long as the screws are in there, though, it's going to at least hold something still. Now, behind that, and I'm going to go ahead and move this off, and we'll talk about this in a minute. Behind that is, if I can show it on camera, you can kind of see it from over here. So that is her eye socket. So it's a round ball. In the back, you see there's a little metal rod. Hard to see in there. There it is. And that connects to that little rod there. So basically when you, let's see if I can find which one. There it is. So see, when I push that little rod, those go left and right. And then there's the other one that, I'm trying to get it on camera. Very hard to see. All right, let me do this. So I'll go ahead and skip forward to this. So this is usually glued in there, and the only way that you can really get into a head is to peel this off. But unfortunately, doing so, you kind of damage some of this vinyl because it is really glued in there. But it's the only way you can really, you have to press the head forward. We'll get off camera here for a second so I can press. You don't want to break anything, that's the problem. Now, if you do this, you can obviously get to this much easier, right? And pop this off. But the problem is you break that. So one way or the other, you're breaking something. But you can kind of see into there a little more. But basically, it's 2 different pulley systems. One goes up and down, and the other goes left and right. So if your cricket's eye is pushed in, most of the time, let me see something I can press with here, if I can show. Her head popped open again. Try to peel that scalp back. I'm trying my best not to damage her any more than she already is, because these are, again, to me, more rare. I also don't want to pop her eyes out. And that's the reason I went in here to begin with, is her eyes were, one of them was pressed in. All right, now let's see. Okay, so difficult. All right, right here, there's like this little metal rod that goes into the eyeball. And this is usually what pops out. There's this little rod here, and there's two little connectors that clamp, like little C-clamps, one on the top and one on the bottom. Usually that comes dislodged. And most of the time, all you have to do is align that back and push it back into place, and voila, you're good to go. So it's just these two little C-clamps, and that connects that. Now, if you need to get into the actual eye system, here's another issue. There is another skull plate. Once you take this off, you see the front. The issue here is there are four little, you can see this little brown piece there. There's four of those, and they hold that eye plate in. And because that plastic's so old, when you try to push those little pegs back, they snap off. So this one already has some broken ones. And if you hear any little rattling or you find little broken pieces inside of Cricket or Corky, that's probably one of those that have coming off from the eye socket. And since it's just a straight shot down, a lot of that stuff falls into the body. But anyway, that's kind of a weird angle of looking inside a Cricket. Again, I'm not going to try to damage her anymore by opening her up, but hopefully you kind of get more of an idea of how the inside of the head works. Pop, and it goes back. Oh, look, see, that one came out. Great example. That is what sometimes they look like. See, her eyes are just all crazy. So, and that happened because I was pulling, they come off very easy. So remember when I pulled the scalp forward, it pulled the eye with it. So all I have to do is pop it back in place. And to do that, I have to go forward here. Sorry, I have to lean forward to get on the camera. All right. It always looks so crazy when you're, she looks so wild when her eye is out of socket. It is just the strangest looking thing. Oh, well, I think now, yeah, that is what has happened. So now the whole thing is off. So because both of them snapped off place, I'm gonna probably have to go inside, which is never fun, but it is what it is. So nothing broke, but there's more little pulleys and plastic pieces on the inside, and they just snap together. So it's so easy for them to snap off. So let's see, some bonus content. I'm gonna try to adjust. I only had to take this off once. We're gonna see what happens. Because now, if both eyes are snapped out, that means the whole piece is off track. And these are 4 longer screws. Might have to make 2 different videos. This one will be a video just about the head, depending on how long this takes, and then I can do another one opening up Cricket. I did a video once where I just showed how fast I could change Crickets because I had a bunch of them that I hadn't worked on. And I already had taken them out of the body. And it was just a quick, like, you know, pull this out, pull the screws out, change the bands, slap them back in, and let her go to town. It looks like there's 2 different types of screws. So there's a bigger screw at the bottom. And I always try to use the screwdrivers that have a little bit of magnetic push to them. So sometimes you can just pull the screw out. Other times I have little tweezers that I use if I need a little additional help. Problem is, usually you need a third hand, and that I don't have. At least I do have a hand for, I have a little tripod here. All right, let's see, any of those are gonna come out for me? Nope, I'm gonna have to go in and pluck them out with my tweezers. All right, they are, that one. All right, yep, so the bottom screws are a little shorter than the top screws. So when I put them back in, you have to remember these things. So I'll try to lay them in order of how they go. All right, so now all the screws are out. And now comes that hard part I was talking about, where you have to pull these little tabs out. And this is usually, it's so difficult because the plastic is old and they want to break. All right, trying to be careful. I think I got one out. Yep, I got one out. Trying to keep it on camera. Ah, all right, I think I got them out. Yep, so there's that piece. All right, now we can really see into the eye here. So we can go ahead and take the rest of this off. I always hate taking these off because, again, you'll see it tears the vinyl a little bit. Okay, well, now, just kidding. So let's, now we can really get in here and look inside her head. So you see there's all these different mechanisms here, and they're all over the place because both her eyes came off of socket. So there is another piece of skull, which I'm not going to try to take out because, again, there's these four little, and this one they're brown. Those little pegs break off, and some of them already have broke off. So now what I've got to do is, what does that one do?